Welcome to the Expansive Astrology Podcast, where we look at using astrology beyond the tropes and horoscopes to tune into the natural forces around us and within us, honoring our true nature to craft our future. I'm your host, Melissa, the Self-Care Witch, and I'm here to help you meet your magic. Without further ado, let's begin this week's episode with a tarot reading for the collective. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. This week is episode 28, and it's our last week of Scorpio season. So I'm going to be talking about passion and desire, shamelessness. We'll touch on vulnerability. We're going to be talking about manifestation. It's a really good week. I think I've said that every week of Scorpio season, but this one is so good that next year, I think I'm going to make this week's topic first. So I really encourage you to listen to this week's episode and really dive in with this energy for this last week of Scorpio before we move into Sagittarius season, because this is so good. We're talking about desire, right? Scorpio is passionate and raw, and it is very tapped in to what it knows it wants and needs without shame. No room for shame, right? So this is a season to continue conquering shame, to honor our deepest desires, to live from a very passionate place without feeling shame or defendedness around that, or learning how to manage defendedness around that. So this week we're talking about honoring our desires and managing any shame that may come up along with that. And what I love about this is that just simply by taking the time to really focus on and honor what it is we desire, we're actively working to manifest those things. Just by being with it, just by thinking about it, just by listening to this episode this week, you are actively manifesting those things that you desire. It's true that where intention goes, energy flows, and focusing on our desires in a healthy, empowered, magical way brings healthy, empowered, magical energy and awareness to those things. So we don't want to shy away from this. We really want to lean into this. But first things first, collective tarot reading this week. This is a 4-card check-in spread for the week ahead, kind of naming some things that are present for us. Some of the things that I say today might really resonate for you. You might be like, oh yeah, that is very present for me right now. Some things might not hit quite as deeply. Take what you need and leave the rest. And I encourage you to stay open to how these things may play out for you over the week to come. Because if you're hearing this, I trust that you're meant to hear this. So present for us this week, we have 2 majors. Present for us is the Hermit, supported by Justice. So we are encouraged to touch in with our own wisdom. The Hermit is about trusting the timing of our lives, trusting the unfolding of our lives. The Hermit is about having wisdom and discernment in what we are giving our energy to and what we are focusing on. The Hermit knows that the best, most effective way to be is to be present. The Hermit, the whole gift of the Hermit is their ability to just be with themselves and just being with whatever is being illuminated to them. So I don't read the Hermit as necessarily a call to isolate. and to be alone, right? If you need that, if you're wanting to hear that this week, like, um, take that call, right? For yourself. I don't think that's necessarily what the hermit is about. I don't think it's about like our physical proximity to others or how much we're interacting with others. Um, I think it's more about what we are focused on and where we are drawing our energy, where we are spending our energy. And like there's just such the wisdom that comes with the hermit, right? The hermit doesn't look outside of themselves for the answers that they seek. They just look to their own lantern. They look to where their feet are planted. And the thing about this hermit is that he has a massive wand. He has a massive staff, which represents power, magic, energy, fire. So, yes, depicted in the card is like we see kind of like what appears to be an old man in the Pamela Colman Smith illustration. He's looking down. He looks maybe a little hunched. He's got this cape on and this long white beard, right? So we get this idea that he's this old man. Yeah, we don't want to underestimate this old man's power, their fire, their wisdom. I love the call to presence and mindfulness that comes with the hermit. The hermit knows that we can only ever be with what is. We can only ever see what is being illuminated by our lantern. It's important that we can tell the difference between what is being illuminated to us, like really, and what our brain may be telling us, or what we may be assuming, or what we may be fearing. Can you find presence right now where you are, whatever your life looks like, however it's unfolding? Can you find presence and trust in the timing of your life? Trust in the way that it's unfolding? Can you trust that what is being illuminated to you is being shown to you for a reason? Right? Like, also, how many times, how many times do things become illuminated to us that we ignore or bypass or try to ignore or try to reason away or will away? What does it mean to really be with where we are and trust and like knowing that we can only ever move from there? And that the more present we are where we are, the more power we have, right? The more we are willing to be with what is, with the truth of what is, that's the only way that we can affect change. And I just realized I'm already describing the justice card too. Hmm. The justice card is all about being with what is, like, as if we're in a courtroom, as if we are being presented, and not like a courtroom like the way our human and or American justice system is. Like, not necessarily modeling the idea off of the American justice system because for many, many reasons. But thinking of the courtroom in like an idealized way and like if it were a perfect world, like a divine orchestrated by God type of courtroom where we in front of a judge and a jury, we're just looking at the facts of the matter, taking our will or want out of it, taking ego out of it, taking emotion out of it. What would a judge and a jury say about the situation? What are the facts? So it's interesting how the hermit and the justice card are similar, how they're different, and how they support one another, knowing also that they're only separated by the Wheel of Fortune card, which we're going to be talking about and Sagittarius season. I will resist a tangent on that for now. But the Hermit reminding us to trust the timing of our lives, to trust what is being shown to us, to trust our power, to trust um, the unfolding of our lives, and to trust ourselves to know where to go next. The more we can be present with where our hands and our feet are, the more equipped we are to deal with where our hands and our feet are, or what will come into our path, right? And then the Justice card is kind of supporting that Hermit work. Justice is an ally. Which is why I really want to differentiate it from what we know, especially in my country, our justice system, like not looking at it like that, but kind of looking at this energy as an ally, which comes in and gently asks us, what is present right now that you're resisting? What is true right here, right now, that you wish wasn't true? What is true that you wish would change, that you wish could change, that you wish there would be more balance or more justice with, right? The Justice card isn't saying there will be balance. It's not saying there will be justice. It's asking us to look at where there is injustice, where there is imbalance, to get very honest about that and to find radical acceptance around that. To be with the truth of where there is imbalance, where there is injustice, to look at it, to be with the truth, to see it, to have the courage to acknowledge how fucking unfair life is, and to acknowledge the things that are truly out of your control, or to acknowledge the things that you are perpetuating yourself that you dislike or wish would be different, or that maybe you're ignoring or denying altogether, right? It's bitter medicine. uh it's often justice comes up around things like addiction or generational trauma, or like failing relationships, unhealthy relationships, I should say, abusive relationships, maybe. Um, it's bitter medicine, right? It's having us look at the things that are off, the things that need our attention, and the ego doesn't love that. It just doesn't, you know. The Justice card has us acknowledging what is rather than what we wish were, rather than what we wish could be. And I guess that's a pretty good message to start this episode out, where for the rest of the time, I'm going to be talking about dreaming and desire and like passion, and um, really touching in with what we dream of, what we desire. So I think the Hermit and the Justice card are pretty like practical anchoring energies to start the episode out with. But that's what's present for us this week. We have an ally in acknowledging the truth of the matter, whatever that means for you. Uh, And the more we can do that, right, the more we can accept the truth and be with the truth. It's all about presence. Like both of these, the Hermit and Justice, it's all about a willingness to be present in this life. Uh as uncomfortable as that is a lot of the time, as painful as that is, as tragic as it can be. And Justice and the Hermit don't have to be all about pain and tragedy and these melancholy things. We can also apply these things to what is going well in life, right? Because sometimes we deny that too. Just as I was sitting down to do this, to record this, I had a moment where I was like, "Damn, if you had told me when I was in grad school that I would be working on my own, all self-pay clients, no insurance companies, that I set my perfect schedule each week. I don't feel burnt out by my like some of those things seemed impossible when I was in grad school or when I was working for like a big community agency. Like the thought of having a limited number of clients who all pay me out of pocket, where I'm not like a slave to insurance companies. uh, I have not been sitting in the truth of that. I haven't been because I've been there's also been a lot of contraction. Having your own business is scary. Clients come and clients go. I have quite a ways to go to meet like my financial goals. So there's a lot of reason for me to be really focused on where I'm going, what I'm wanting. We don't have enough. Life is kind of scary. I want more security, more security, more security, right? And I've been kind of floating in that for quite a while. And I think the Hermit card, the Justice card, is also that experience of me being like, "Wait, like, wow, I've actually got it pretty good right now. I'm stable, I'm secure. I'm living a life that I once dreamed of." And I hope that this doesn't sound like a humble brag or like a cool flex, bro. Like that's not what it's meant to be at all. I want to just shed some light on how these things aren't just about generational trauma and addiction and um, where we are perpetuating injustice in our lives, right? But it's about being with the truth, being present with the truth fully in all the ways. And either way can feel really risky to the brain, right? Like being with the truth in ways that feel really painful or uncomfortable, that's for obvious reasons. The brain doesn't love that, right? But also being with the truth that, like, hey, I am living a life that I once dreamed of. I do have security and stability. I do have some success here. That also feels threatening in a strange way to the brain, right? As if me acknowledging those things is gonna somehow make me give up on my other goals or something, which is just never gonna happen. Like my dreams are my dreams. I I want those things. I'm manifesting those things, whether I'm happy or not. So might as well be happy. Anyway, tangent, but I hope it's useful. That's what's present for us this week. Our lesson is the Seven of Wands. We're learning how to use our fire, how to use our energy. The Seven of Wands, Soul Tarot tells us that this is about like hyper vigilance, over defendedness. It's about like approaching the world expecting a fight, expecting to have to defend yourself. And many of us come from situations where that was true. Or many of us might be in situations currently where that's very true, where we have to approach certain situations or people or whatever in a very, very defended way. What this card teaches us, though, is just how to know. This card reminds us that we will know. You will know when you need to use your fire. You will know when you're in a situation where you're unsafe, where you're being attacked, where you need to pick up that wand and kind of guard yourself with it. And I just want to offer that as like an affirmation. Anytime I pull this card, I see it as an invitation to kind of take a deep breath and put my sword and my shield away and trust that like if I need my sword and my shield in an instant, I can have them. And I don't have to approach every situation. I don't have to approach the world with my sword and my shield already in hand, like in front of me. I can approach the world from an open, more trusting, less contracted, like expanded place. And if or when I need to pick up my sword and my shield, they're accessible to me at any time. I can protect myself. I will know how and when to protect myself. You will know how and when to protect yourself. Can you keep your heart open for the in between times, right? This is just a hyper vigilant, over defended, ready to fight type of energy. And like, there are situations where we need that, where we need to be very defensive, or we have to be ready to fight. And this card shows up to remind us to set down our defenses, that we don't have to stay tense, stay defended, that we don't have to be looking out for betrayal. You'll know if it comes up. And in the meantime, try to rest and relax. Learning to protect ourselves in a way that isn't so draining, that isn't so hard on us. Learning how to use your fire without wasting it. And then our anchor for the week, given all that I've said, our anchor is the 9 of Wands. And I really love this as kind of a cherry on top, almost in a way. This card, if you do nothing else with this tarot reading this week, hear this. Take better care of yourself. Even and especially if you feel like you can't. Even and especially if you're waiting for some sort of finish line or some sort of something to take care of yourself. This card reminds you to find ways to tend yourself, to find ways to take a break, even when you're in the process of something, to tend to the body and the mind and the heart, to rest, to find rest, even in the middle of the work, right? So that might not mean getting a massage this week, and it might not mean taking an hour lunch break. Like, sometimes that's truly not possible, but is there a way for you to find tending and health and nurturance and space and rest, even if you have to work through lunch, even if you haven't had a massage in months and there's not a massage in sight? Tending yourself where you are in your process, even and especially if it feels impossible to do. Tending the body, resting. Can you both be in your work and getting shit done and be easeful and graceful and find rest and enjoyment in it all? Don't wait for a break. Create breaks. Create rest and care. Whatever the circumstances. And I understand how hard that can be. I, and the 9 of Wands teaches us the importance of caretaking ourselves as like a way of life rather than something we earn. Which is so good. And it's work, right? It takes a lot of work, a lot of practice. It might require a radical rearranging of how things are in your life, in your world. And if that's the case, if you hear this and you're like, that is so far away from where I am, that would require so much change in order to find more caretaking, like as a way of life. I'm with you. I hear you. I hear you. And I hope that it doesn't feel so far off that um that it feels impossible. It's especially for you if you're feeling that way. It's especially for you if your life is kind of set up and operating that way. This is your invitation, more than anyone, right? To find ways to prioritize caretaking yourself in the midst of all of it. And if that's especially hard for you, let me help you. I am the self-care witch. Let me help you figure out ways to prioritize self-care in your life, in your world. Because yikes, if everybody could live more of that. huh. So the spread altogether, these four cards, wow. The call for presence, the call for trusting, the call to trust our divine timing in life. uh I don't think it could be much more clear. So I hope that that feels anchoring. I hope that it feels juicy and useful for you as we move into the week ahead. But I think that's all I have to say about the tarot spread this week. Now, moving into the expansive astrology, we're getting juicy. We are really diving in to the depths of your heart, the depths of your desire. Mama, what do you desire? Don't be afraid to be a person who has desires. We often shut this part of ourselves down for so many reasons, out of fear of not being able to obtain what we desire, fear of having too much desire, fear we don't deserve what we desire, or it's impossible, or it makes us high maintenance. First off, it is so important to know exactly what is coming up for us as far as any fear or guilt or any difficulty with claiming what it is we desire. So, as we're having this conversation and exploring this, make sure that as you're tapping into the side of you that has desire and that is more human, primal, and shameless, stay aware of that other side of you too, though. The more proper, careful side of you that does doubt or question, or the part of you that has stories about what your desires are. Notice what comes up for that more careful side of you that doesn't even bother naming or going after your desires because you're fine. Things are fine, right? Things are fine. You don't want to be too much or need too much or ask for too much. You're fine, right? Shine a light on that side of you so that we can evaluate it, be with it, chat with it, without it like sneakily inserting the narratives that we are actively trying to manage or overcome. Those stories that come up need to be examined so that we can deal with it, right? When we don't look at the narratives that perpetuate shame, shame just goes on living its life totally unchecked. We can't have that. Lindsay Mack says receiving is one of the hardest things we can do. What comes up for you around receiving? Asking for things, dreaming of more. Many of us experience a lot of shame when it comes to desire. And I want to talk about receiving as we have this discussion about desire, because they certainly go hand in hand, right? And it is divinely guided, it's divinely inspired. The polarity of Scorpio is Taurus. Taurus is across the map from Scorpio, and every Scorpio season, we have a full moon in Taurus. So, Taurus, part of Taurus medicine is in receiving. Taurus is about security, stability, and pleasure. Taurus is ruled by the Empress card, and the Empress is all about receiving. So when we're talking of desire, we also get to look at receiving. And I just have to say, last week's moon meetup, when we were talking about this as a group, talking about desire and and receiving, inspired by the Taurus full moon, it was so good. It was like my favorite moon meetup yet. It was the best. And like in Sagittarius season, the polarity is Gemini. So I'm excited next week or next season to look at those two and that relationship there. But what gets in your way? What were you told about desire and about receiving when you were younger? How was receiving modeled for you? How did the adults in your world ask for their needs to get met or get their needs or not ask? Right? How did they get their needs met? And how did they receive? Were your needs met and honored? Or were you encouraged to quiet yourself for the convenience of others? What does your upbringing, what does your brain tell you about why you can or can't, or why you shouldn't be a person who has desires? What were you told it means about you? Narratives of being sinful or spoiled or high maintenance, a Barbie or a princess, needy. Those are the things I hear from people most often. What do you desire? What is it? Name it. Claim it. This is the season. I love this timing. We're nearly finished with the calendar year, and we're about to head into the last third of the zodiacal year. So let's go for it. Let's kind of it's a time to evaluate our goals. What is it you desire? Really, like learn to be shamelessly specific about this. Be sure to tend to any shame or embarrassment or fear as those things may come up and claim what it is you want. Mel Robbins speaks about the importance of getting really specific about those areas where you say you're fine. Are you fine? Are you fine with pizza when what you really wanted was tacos? Are you fine even though you feel out of control with your relationship with money or food or alcohol? Are you fine even though you haven't had good sex in months? I mean, yeah. Yeah, you probably are, right? You probably are fine with pizza instead of tacos, and you probably are fine with your body, and you're probably fine with your sex life or with masturbating. But here's the thing, we're seeking more than fine, so much more than fine. Fine is not a standard that you're going to hold for your life. So get even more specific. Are you looking to lose 20 pounds? Or do you want to feel sexy? Do you desire a stable job with health insurance? Or do you want to make six figures plus? Do you desire more vacation time? Or do you want the freedom to travel where you want, when you want? Do you want your partner to text you more often? Or do you want to feel more desired by them? Do you want to get laid? Or do you want to feel like a sensual goddess? Like, what is it that you actually want? And when you think you've landed on what you want, take it a bit deeper. Why do you want that? What do you want from that? Don't play it safe here. Name it boldly. And and note the privilege in some of those examples I named. Vacation time and travel and high salaries are certainly hugely privileged things. And I have an intention behind using examples like that, right? I want you to dream really fucking big. I want you to take it beyond the travel and the health insurance and the getting laid, and bring it deeper into the sense of freedom and desire and sex appeal. um Desirability, right? The sense that you are full and free. That's what we want from these things, right? The trick here is in being specific enough to have the audacity to state, I want to make $300,000 per year and never have a car loan again, while also being open and loose enough that you don't form unhealthy attachments to these desires, that your happiness doesn't become dependent on hitting these goals. For example, there's a difference between writing a list of qualities you'd like to see in a partner and having a long ass list of deal breakers. With one, you're manifesting. With the other, you're being stubborn. Scorpio is known for having strong attachment, which is exactly why the biggest work of Scorpio is around the death card. Don't be too attached to your idea of what these things will look like or how they'll manifest. Don't be too attached. We're going to talk more about that in Sagittarius season. This is a season to tap into our innermost desires, and it is also a season of letting go, of death, rebirth, and regeneration. So, we're talking about loosening up on attachments as well. There's a beautiful middle ground to be found here. The space between being a person who is passionate, raw, and holds desires shamelessly, while also being a person who can loosen their grip, welcomes in change, and who knows that what is meant to be will be. This is also what it means to be living a soul-centered existence, right? Knowing that the soul isn't afraid of losing something. It isn't afraid of being embarrassed. It isn't afraid of starting over, or it isn't concerned about the timing of things, right? It knows that things come and go. It knows that we can't ever truly lose what is meant to be with us. But like our brain, our ego, our humanness, on the other hand, we hate that. So, another great trick to employ here is to remain open to the fact that you may not even totally know what it is that you want, let alone what is best for you. You may desire one thing so deeply. You may be totally convinced that it is the thing that you need, and the universe might have something totally different in store for you that is completely better. This is why one of my favorite beliefs, one of my favorite affirmations is I am open to being pleasantly surprised by the universe. Because we don't always know what is best for us. And I like to believe that something even better is always on on its way. This is another reason I like to frame my desires in terms of feelings rather than achievements or things. Do I want to make six figures or do I want abundance, spaciousness, and freedom in my finances? Do I want to lose 20 pounds or do I want to feel sexy and confident when I get dressed in the morning? Framing things in terms of feelings rather than achievements helps me remember not to attach too tightly to the specifics of things, not to attach too tightly to what I think will make me happy, and rather it helps me focus on embodying those feelings, embodying a sense of confidence and sexiness, embodying a sense of abundanceness. That's not a word. A sense of abundance and spaciousness, right? Treating my body and my bank account with reverence and respect and confidence and worthiness because I'm like tapped in with the feeling. And the biggest barrier to feeling contentedness and worthiness, hmm, shame. So let's chat a bit about shame. Scorpio has no time for shame. Scorpio is unapologetic. There's no room for shame in the underbelly of the universe, right? Shame and vulnerability researcher and author and brilliant woman Brene Brown describes shame as, quote, the intensely painful feeling or experience of believing we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging, unquote. Shame happens when we other ourselves, when we get stuck in all the ways we're different from those around us. This is so relevant when we're talking about desire. Taboo, a social or religious custom prohibiting or forbidding discussion of a particular practice or forbidding association with a particular person, place, or thing. In many ways, desire itself is taboo, let alone some of the things we might find on our list of desires. And the way taboo is defined, like, implies shame. It implies othering, forbidding, prohibiting. Yikes. Can't even talk about it. Now, we're leaning into this for two reasons: honoring our humanness and healing ancestral wounding. So, first, honoring humanness. This means giving a voice to our human, primal, unedited selves, to our inner kid. We're learning to feel more confident with our humanness, acceptance of our humanness, and realizing that really, hey, I don't know if you know this, but we're all the same. We're all the same. Like, we're obviously not. We're all unique and special and marvelous, special snowflakes. And we're also we're all the freaking same. All of us experience desire to differing degrees and in differing ways, sure, of course. But we all want to be accepted. We all want to feel free. We all have vulnerabilities and desires and soft, gushy insides that want to hug every now and then. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't be afraid of that. Because we appreciate others the more human and relatable they are, the more we relate with them, right? The more relatable, the more approachable. And acceptance and connection are like the opposite of shame. So don't be afraid to let yourself be human, be relatable, be approachable, authentic, real. Know that you are worthy and totally valid and totally not alone in these things that you want and the things that you feel. Scorpio is kind of known for being defended. and and Scorpio asks us, how can we be more comfortable in vulnerability without feeling so defended? Shame is made up of predatory ass brain chemistry, if I've ever heard of it, right? The function of our brain that treats us like weak prey and isolates us from the rest of the world or from protection. The very nature of what shame is makes it difficult to share our experience with others. Out of self preservation, we keep these thoughts and feelings that create and feed shame to ourselves. We present this hard, scary, scorpionic exoskeleton, even though we're really just so human and soft and needy and sweet underneath. We can learn to be less and less defended the more we increase our tolerance for vulnerability. The more we flex our vulnerability muscle, the less shame we experience. And just note that vulnerability does not mean danger. I'm not talking about placing yourself in emotionally unsafe places. This takes practice and improves little by little in safe ways. And the best way to get there is to use super safe tests. Test your vulnerability with people that you know, love, value, and accept you in ways that stretch your comfort zone, but that you know will be accepted. If you want tacos, say you want tacos. Even if no one else wants tacos, even if they've already decided on pizza, have the courage to say you want tacos. I think it's important. And it's not about being a diva, and it's not about not being flexible, and it's not about like taking up the overcrowding or like taking up too much space. I don't think it's taking up too much space to say, tacos sounded really good. Can we do tacos next time? Or just tacos sound really good. For some people, even just saying that is a massive like stretch of the comfort zone. So, loves, here's the deal. You're human, innately imperfect, innately needy, innately worthy of experiencing and seeking and claiming more in this life. Do not feel ashamed, embarrassed, afraid. And don't hold on so tightly to certain ideas of what you want and desire that you miss what's already here in front of you. Don't hold so tightly to certain ideas of what you want and how you want it that you miss what does come up for you that you didn't even see coming. So you've got work to do. And wow, I didn't realize when I wrote it, because when I wrote it, all I was thinking about is like Scorpio and desire and those things. But that is, that last little piece is very much what the tarot reading was saying this week, right? With the Hermit card and the Justice card, being present with what is here, the truth of what is. Mm. I was not thinking of the Hermit or Justice. That's so funny that that's what came up this week. So, before our Scorpio season's over, you've got some work to do. Go get passionate. Write love letters to yourself. Write love letters to the universe. What do you want? What are you seeking? Why are you ashamed? let's really go for it. Scorpio is a season of learning to let go. It's transformative. It reminds us that we cannot continue the way we were. We never leave this season without some sort of transformation. We are the phoenix rising from the ashes, and in Sagittarius season, we really light a fire and soar. So, since this is the last week of Scorpio, let me chat a little bit about what that transition looks like. Unlike Scorpio, Sagittarius releases and resents attachment. Like, it's not even a thing this season. We are soaring. We're going. Sagittarius is soaring. There's no looking back now. Like galloping into the sunset. When we truly let go, we can never go back, right? Those things that we're shedding, we're done with. As we wrap up this year, we're stepping into something completely new. We're able to end this year in a much more empowered place. So, continuing to honor that which we desire, like not afraid to look at our shadows anymore, continuing to tap in with our intuition, with our inner knowing, testing our vulnerability. And then Sagittarius comes in and teaches us how to live in connection with our soul rather than the ego. So, intuition and trust and tapping into our inner knowing is so important in Scorpio season to set us up for that in Sagittarius, to set us up to really embrace optimism, like being a dreamer. And I'm going to bring some practical tips on how to do just that in Sagittarius season. Really staying in alignment with the soul. There's this beautiful affirmation: my inner state gets to be whatever I choose it to be, no matter what is happening outside of me. And we're not fucking around with this anymore. We're staying in alignment with the soul. We're shedding what doesn't feel good. We are healing, damn it. So that we can live in alignment, so that we can dream, so that we can use our fire to get to what it is we desire. Sagittarius is a fire sign. And it takes a lot of balance and respect to work with fire. What is your relationship like with your fire, your power, your magic, your energy? In Sagittarius season, we're exploring how you move through the world, honoring your pace, your frequency without allowing burnout, how to live in alignment with what is in your highest and best interest. So, Sagittarius is here next week, helping us to have the courage to dream really big as we step into this last trimester of the astrological year. The astrological year ends in March, mid to late March. And I also love what this energy, the Sagittarius dreaming energy does to set us up for the end of like 2022. As always, the timing is absolutely perfect. I'm always obsessed with the transitions. We really want to embrace this courage and this fiery connection to what your soul desires, so that then, really at the end of the year, when Capricorn comes around, who's here to help us with refining things and buckling down and getting serious about bringing our dreams to fruition, we'll be doing so from a much more genuine, tapped in, soul honoring place. Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, mwah, such a divine trio that's really set us up for success. So, coming up, next week, we'll be really diving into Sagittarius season. We'll be speaking about the Temperance card and the Wheel of Fortune card. Sagittarius season, we're going to be speaking about optimism and really focusing on soul alignment. Now, that's all I have for you for the Expansive Astrology this week. But before I go, I do have a brief astrological forecast. This is printed in the show notes below, and all of the times are in Eastern Daylight Time. This is just a list of some of the more major transits coming up over the week, as well as times when the moon is void of course. Not so that you overly structure your life around these things, but more so that you can be aware and kind of notice how these energies might play out for you. Also, it's recommended that the periods when the moon is void of course, that we kind of take it easy, focus a little less on like output and a little more on resourcing, relaxing, and just kind of taking it easy. So, any excuse to encourage you to take it easy, I'm going to find and I'm going to give you. So, starting with Wednesday the 16th, Venus enters Sagittarius early in the morning, 1:08 a.m. And then we have the waning half moon at 8:27 a.m. And then in the evening, the moon is void of course from 6:55 p.m. until it enters Virgo at 8:04 p.m. Thursday the 17th, Mercury enters Sagittarius at 3:42 a.m. Saturday the 19th, the moon will be void of course from 3:47 a.m. until it enters Libra at 5:58 a.m. Monday the 21st, the moon will be void of course from 6:14 a.m. until it enters Scorpio at 12:16 p.m. And then on Tuesday the 22nd, the sun enters Sagittarius at 3:20 a.m. So by that time, we will have Venus, Mercury, and the sun all in Sagittarius. So I will see you here next week for episode 29, where we're truly welcoming in Sagittarius season. But before then, here's your formal invitation, just a reminder that you are invited to my next moon circle. It is Sunday, the 20th, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. This happens in person in Old Town Fort Collins or online over Zoom from your own sweet little living room. This week we'll be preparing for the new moon in Sagittarius. So we will do a little release ritual, a fire ritual, and then setting intentions together for Sagittarius season. If that's something you're interested in joining me for, I would love to have you. You can find more information on my website. If you would like to support my work here on the podcast, please consider signing up as a member. For just $21 a month, you receive an all-access pass to all moon meetups, as well as a 5-card spread for the month ahead directly to your inbox. Just a note that you do have to sign up before the 15th of the month in order to get the spread for that month. So if you sign up after the 15th, you will get the 5-card spread for December. But before the 15th, you'll still get November. I hope that makes sense. I hope that feels fair. And I am sending so much love to my members who have signed up already. I appreciate you so, so much. On that note, I think that's all I have for you. Thank you again so much for being here. I really hope that this serves you in some way. It's crazy watching my little podcast slowly grow. It just every week it's slow, but I'm getting growth every week. So that tells me that you're finding something good here, and that just means the world to me. So thank you so so much for being here. Um, Never hesitate to let me know what works, what lands well, and any feedback that you may have. I appreciate hearing from you and knowing you and connecting with you. You know, I love it. I hope you have a really good week. I hope you take care of yourselves, and I will see you here next time. Bye. Now, before you go, let me keep your ear for just a moment. This week's episode is brought to you by www.theselfcarewitch.com, my bread and butter, where you can find more information on my current courses, offerings, and other fun ways to connect with myself and yourself. If you enjoyed this episode and you dig what I'm doing here, please subscribe to the podcast, rate it, and leave a review. It helps so much. And if you'd like to connect with me, head to theselfcarewitch.com. I'd truly love to hear from you. Until next time, take care.